Thanks for your support. It's what keeps FamilyTherapist.org going. The podcasts and information presented in FamilyTherapist.org are only for educational and informative purposes and should not be used to replace professional services of any type.
Hi, and welcome to FamilyTherapist.org, where our programs get close to you and give you something that's personally practical and immediately helpful. You are the best thing that's happened to you. We just help bring out that beautiful person inside you. Now, here's Opinions with life coach Johnny DeHassif.
Our topic is how to experience true pleasure. According to doctors of philosophy M.A. Suppius and Panis Murdoquatus, in its many shapes, pleasure is what every human being is after. It's the chief mode of a good life. Yet not all pleasures are alike. Some pleasures are kinetic, shallow and transient, fading away as soon as the act that created them ends. Often, they're succeeded by a feeling of emptiness. Other types of pleasures are called katastemic, deep, prolonged, continuing even after the acts that created them end. And it's these pleasures that secure a well-balanced life. People who have wrongly dedicated themselves to kinetic pleasures end up on a treadmill, constantly in need of a new supply of pleasurable stimuli in order to sustain an acceptable existence, or what they call flash-in-the-pan enjoyments. True pleasure requires limits and restraints. Learning to steer clear of kinetic, shallow, and transient pleasure and attain katastemic, deep and prolonged pleasures and daily discipline leading to peace of mind is the highest pleasure that anyone can achieve. A state of mental equilibrium that precludes the inner turmoil brought by our modern-day terminology called stress, or as the ancients called it, distress. Anyone who has spent a sleepless night worrying about the complexities of daily life should understand the importance of attaining such a mental state and emotional calm. To find the path for katastemic, deep and prolonged pleasure, wise people conduct an inventory of their priorities, attachments, values, and activities because they want to uncomplicate their lives. They want to make their lives simple. People involved in a high-pressure job with long hours and enormous pressures must ask themselves whether the emotional and psychological anxieties routinely experienced are worth the financial rewards. At some point, people interested in the true quality of life must ask themselves, isn't there more to life than the stress-driven rat race I'm in? Only when individuals start to reflect along these lines can they start the process of attaining katastemic, deep, and prolonged pleasures. Once achieved, the spiritual benefits of such a life far outweigh the anxiety-provoking compensations of wealth and status. As the modern medical community continues to warn, stress kills. It can contribute directly to high blood pressure, stroke, and heart disease. Katastemic, deep, and prolonged pleasure is the ancient world's equivalent of biofeedback, and it worked. And it may be more relevant in today's world than it was back in the days of the ancients. What is biofeedback? According to the University of Maryland, biofeedback is a technique that trains people to improve their health by controlling certain bodily processes that normally happen involuntarily, such as heart rate, blood pressure, muscle tension, skin temperature. Electrodes attached to your skin measure the processes and display them on a monitor. With the help of a biofeedback therapist, you can learn to change your heart rate or blood pressure, for example. At first, you see the monitor to see your progress. but eventually you will be able to achieve success without the monitor or the electrodes. Biofeedback is an effective therapy for many conditions, but it is primarily used to treat high blood pressure, tension, headaches, migraine headaches, chronic pain, and urinary incontinence. But keep in mind that biofeedback, you need the electrodes and you need the machine, but after a while you can take it all off and start doing it yourself, because why? The machine only let you know that yes, it can be done, and yes, I have the power to change, and yes, I can do it. And once you get that in your head, it works. So let's get into how does biofeedback work. Researchers aren't sure exactly how. However, there does seem to be at least one common thread. Most people who benefit from biofeedback have conditions that are brought on or made worse by stress. For this reason, many scientists believe that relaxation is the key to successful biofeedback therapy. When your body is under chronic stress, internal processes like blood pressure become overactive. Guided by a biofeedback therapist, you can learn to lower your blood pressure through relaxation techniques and mental exercises. When you're successful, you see the results on the monitor, which encourage you to continue on your own. What is biofeedback good for? Biofeedback seems to be effective for a range of health problems. For example, it shows promise for treating urinary incontinence, which is a problem for more than 15 million Americans. Some people choose biofeedback over drugs because of the lack of side effects. Based on findings in clinical studies, the Agency for Healthcare Policy and Research has recommended biofeedback therapy as a treatment for urinary incontinence, and it also helps if you're having problems doing number 2. A review of scientific clinical studies found that biofeedback may help people with insomnia fall asleep. Biofeedback can also be used effectively in children. For example, EEG neurofeedback, especially when combined with cognitive therapy, has been reported to improve behavior and intelligence scores in children with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. Thermal biofeedback helps relieve migraine and chronic tension headaches among children and teens as well. Biofeedback may also be useful for the following health problems: anorexia, anxiety, asthma, autism, back pain, bedwetting, chronic pain, constipation, depression, diabetes, epilepsy, head injuries, high blood pressure, learning disabilities, motion sickness, muscle spasms, sexual disorders including pain during intercourse. Now, the miracle of all this that the ancients have been dealing with. I mean, people have had stress and problems with blood pressure since time began. And they found solutions. Some of them found ways of resolving it. And one of the ways of resolving it was to enjoy, attract, and make catastemic, deep, prolonged pleasure part of their lives. Modern-day scientists consider biofeedback equal to what they would use back then of connecting with catastemic, deep, prolonged pleasures. Doctors M.A. Supius and Panis Murtiquatis wrote the books The 10 Golden Rules, from where many of today's program notes came.
Thanks for listening to FamilyTherapist.org. It's your generosity that keeps us going. Make sure to tell others and keep visiting, because we have over 3,000 programs that will help you connect with that beautiful person inside you. Always remember, you are the best thing that's happened to you. Let's keep on meeting and we'll prove it to you. Goodbye for today, and God bless always.